This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is the show for the week of February 12th, 2024. And recording on a Monday again, about a week or so, well, I don't know exactly what days, a couple days after the quarterly report, in which there was nothing about the parks, really. Not that we were expecting any. So if you want some more broader news about it, there's plenty of places. But we're going to talk a little bit about it today, because how can you not? If you're watching on YouTube, we're trying some different camera angles out. I do not know how this is going to come out. So leave a comment below if they stink and we'll change them yet again. We spent about a half hour messing with cameras. We wanted less of our big faces on in the shot, maybe a little bit more of a broader shot. So we're going to try some different camera angles. That being said, social media accounts, make sure you follow us on Twitter, Insta, Facebook, or on our YouTube channel at the DBC Pod, or shoot us an email at the DBC Pod podcast at gmail.com. And of course, the Discord server. We got some brand new people in the last couple of weeks, and they're already joining the conversation, making new and interesting opinions, which is always great for a community. So we really appreciate that. But the quarter earnings, Phil, I think that's the major news that everybody's talking about. That's kind of what's kind of generating all the buzz all over the place, combined with the recent announcements at Epic Universe. This is not countering any of that information. It's just what they have to do. So, Phil, bring us through all the major announcements from your opinion.
Sure. Yeah. So as Jason mentioned, Disney had their Q1 earnings. Remember, Disney's fiscal year goes from October 1st versus January 1st. So they're just finishing up their first quarter. The big kind of takeaway from the financial numbers is just that they had a massive beat on their earnings. For those that follow kind of stock information, their earnings per share was up by about 23% versus the same quarter last time. All theme parks were reported as profitable, and the division overall saw a 7% increase in revenue, 8% increase in profits. So not to bore with the details, but that's all good news, right? We kind of, there's a lot of negativity around Disney and stuff like that. And despite that, they had a really good quarter. The stock price went way up after these earnings came out. It broke $100. So it's kind of taken a while, maybe a little bit longer than we thought after Iger came back. But he's really kind of making some moves now. And you're seeing a lot of the other areas becoming either profitable or less negative. And they also kind of restructured things around with the company, with like sports being a separate division. But it's really looking like Disney had to suffer for a few years, whether it was from the, connected to the pandemic and what Chapek did and stuff like that. And that's probably delayed a lot of the investments into the parks that we wish we would have seen. But it looks like we're getting towards sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, and we might start seeing some movement on increased investment into the parks.
So to that point, so what does that mean for the rest of us that don't own the stock, don't care about the stock, and just want to have a better Disney World vacation?
Yeah.
So basically, the only thing that's coming this year is Tiana's. We already know that. There was no mention of that whatsoever. We might get a good announcement about that sometime this week with Mardi Gras going on, but we don't know. That's just a guess. But like you mentioned, spending in the parks. So remember, they buried a lot of financing with Star Cruiser and everything else last fiscal year. And this fiscal year, they're dealing with Hulu, and they're waiting for Disney Plus to become profitable and not be in the red, be in the black.
Yep.
And I think once that's all said and done, we might start seeing expenditures and everything else in fiscal year 25, right? No, wait, are we in fiscal?
We're in their fiscal
24.
year 2024.
Right. So fiscal 25 is when we're going to see things, because that's where the balance sheets are going to look better.
Yep.
And so as far as planning your vacations is concerned, I think we're going to see some new offerings in 2025 next year, because then they're actually going to start spending money on a lot of that stuff. I think they're going to float with Tiana's and not much of anything else this year, I think, unless there's some new entertainment type of stuff.
Yeah, but nothing big.
nothing that you're going to want to plan your vacation for,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. But the one thing that jumped out at me in this report, and I don't think it surprises anybody, but Walt Disney World, even though it was profitable, is still trending downwards for attendance.
Yeah.
So there's less people, but more people are spending more money thanks to GD Plus and all this other stuff, and raised prices and everything else. And I think we're going to continue to see Disney World this summer be extremely soft. I mean, it's already trending in that direction, but I think it's going to be even worse than they expect, or maybe just as worse as they expect, which is going to be pretty bad. So look for some interesting discounts. I think we're going to see some interesting like focus discounts, like the one we saw for like kids are 50%, or if kids are 50% off, but you have to buy the dining plan or something else like that. Or...
you had to buy like a certain amount of tickets on the dining plan, and then their tickets and the dining was 50% off. Obviously, the adults was full price. But yeah, if you were somebody with like two little kids and you wanted to do all these character meals, that was a great sale. So yes, some more customized things and trying to get new people in that maybe haven't been there before.
So I think that kind of weird random kind of offer, because we've never seen like that kind of combination of things. I think it might have been like a test balloon to see if that catches anybody's attention and increase, because that's why the window for that booking was kind of short versus a lot of the other things. So maybe they can see is there an uptick because of that kind of that promo. So I think for planning wise, if you weren't going this summer, I think keep your eyes out for something, because Disney might be looking for like a quick turnaround type of thing. Just keep an eye out, and I'm personally keeping an eye out for this ticket discounts, because I think they're floating all sorts of really crazy good like hotel discounts and stuff like that. And we've been talking about this. They don't scale with occupancy, right? So I think if Disney gets desperate and really wants to fill the hotels, they might start offering like a 4-day ticket package that's like half off, or you buy 2 get 2, which is, I guess, is still half off, but forces you to buy 4 tickets. I think that's something that they might go towards, because free dining's already out there. Is free dining out there? Yeah, free dining is some dining offers out there. There's the Disney Visa Chase offer that we talked about last week. That was like $219 for CVR, which is absolutely massive. So that's 50% off like rack rate from a year ago, just to kind of give you an idea. So anyway, planning wise, because the numbers are down, they're going to, the Disney World is being bolstered by all the other parks and cruise line. I think they're going to try to, juice those numbers, try to get into fiscal year 25, which starts in October. So if they have a strong summer, they might want to ride those tailwinds into increased cost of the increase in the park investment. So I think that's good. But there's some cool things too, which was your next point. Sorry.
So I wrote down just kind of, not to get further into the weeds on the numbers, but just some other announcements that they made in there during the earnings call. One that kind of caught, I think, everybody by surprise was they announced that Moana 2 is going to be coming to theaters. Previously had been worked on as being a Disney Plus show, but instead it's going to be a regular theatrical release, and this November 27th. So only 7 months away.
Mm-hmm.
So that really surprised people. Interestingly, it's going to open up the same day as Wicked, which also saw a preview during the Super Bowl and stuff for that. So people are already talking about, it's the next kind of Barbie Oppenheimer weekend or whatever. I don't know if we're going to call it Mo Wicked or whatever we're going to call it. But that could be a big weekend right around Thanksgiving time.
So I think one of these things is good. And again, this has nothing to do with the parks. Disney Plus has been building all this content for Disney Plus, and it's been like you take a movie type of aspect and stretch it out across 8 episodes, and each episode has been really great, right? Like just think like Secret Invasion for the MCU and some other stuff. Like this should have just been a 2-hour movie rather than an 8-hour bore fest, right? With a lot of filler. So I'm really excited about this. I think you can make it probably a solid 2-hour movie out of it and take all the high points. The only thing that worries me is I don't know if they would have invested in good music for like a TV show where you kind of need that for a movie, because I think Moana has one of the best soundtracks. We've talked about that before, and I think they need to match that intensity for this to be like super successful.
Yeah, that was the same thing I commented on was, people were talking about the story and stuff. Like, obviously that's important, but I feel like Moana, the music was such a big thing. And they did say that it looks like Lin-Manuel Miranda is not involved in the sequel. So I guess we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Another big one was that Disney announced they're taking a $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games. For those of you not familiar with Epic Games, they're the ones that make the Unreal game engine that I believe Millennium Falcon Smuggler Run uses. And also they have the game Fortnite, which if you haven't heard of it, maybe your kids probably have. So they've announced that it's going to be some big, all-encompassing kind of Disney universe within the Fortnite. I don't really fully understand it, but they showed some clips and stuff of kind of all the different characters from all the parts of Disney, from Avatar to Star Wars to Marvel, all of that, like within Fortnite.
So Fortnite is just not a battle royale, everybody shooting each other with guns, right? So take a look. If anybody's curious, take a look at Lego Fortnite that was released the first week of December last year. It was holding some 2.5 million concurrent users globally. For video games, that is absolutely massive, right? This is not 2.5 million people that tried it. It's 2.5 million people consistently using it throughout the day. So there's triple that in potential users daily. So that's a massive number. And it's a free game, but you buy different packs, different skins, and stuff like that. So don't think of like this is like all the princesses with like machine guns shooting each other like Battle Royale is. This is a platform, and in Lego, it's a builder platform because part of Fortnite is also building,
the world, yeah,
building things to like shoot people from or block people with defenses, that type of thing. But it's kind of like a Minecraft type of game on the Lego side of things. So they're building on the Unreal Engine a world where you can experience who knows what. But again, Disney didn't invest in Epic just to make a Fortnite game, right? This is not them trying to make video games. This is an institutional investment in the technology and the direction of the company, right? Yep. So it's just not Fortnite, but kind of gives you an idea.
Yep. So. The other thing, small thing, but obviously it's a big name in the world of entertainment. But Disney Plus announced Disney Plus will be the exclusive streaming home for Taylor Swift's Eras tour, which will also include 5 songs that were not included in when it was in theaters. It will premiere on Disney Plus on March 15th, and I believe I heard they're paying her $75 million.
Saw that
for having.
I think this is huge for Disney Plus. This is going to get him so many subscriptions for at least like 1 month trial, and it's going to be sticky. People are just going to keep it because their daughter wants to listen to Taylor Swift like once a week or once a day or once an hour or whatever
exactly.
It might be. So I think this is huge for Disney Plus.
And then the last one is related to the parks. As we mentioned in the past, Iger had announced that they plan to spend $60 billion over the next 10 years. They didn't get into a ton of detail around this, but they did say they have earmarked 42 billion of this. So I think they said 70%, which works out to 42 billion of it for increasing park capacity across their current theme parks. So I know a lot of times we were trying to do all the math and say, well, how much have they spent in the past and how much is just for like routine upkeep and maintenance and blah, blah, blah. But they said, 70% of it is to increase capacity at the current parks, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah. The Disney Dish talked about this a little bit, and they've continued to do that.
Yeah,
I think where Len Testa is wrong in this, he converts this due to inflation, right? So he's assumed 4%, 3% inflation over X many years. He reduces the amount of overall investment, which I think is the wrong way to think about it, is because when you invest in a ride or infrastructure, you put down, day one, the prices, and you put down payments on it. So whether in 2025, this ride system is going to cost 10 or 2 billion, or this land's going to cost $2 billion, you lay out a lot of capital investment in 2025 dollars that pays for things that come in 2026, 2027. Yeah. So I don't think it's one-to-one. I think that's not a great way of saying it. And of course, they might invest additional capital as things either get more expensive or cheaper, and that $17 billion that, over 10 years for Disney World particularly, it might be more or less, but I don't think inflation is the right way. In any case, it's a significant, investment.
And related to this, they also released a new land use plan related to the Walt Disney World property, which kind of indicates which areas they can build on, which areas are protected land and stuff like that. And they've kind of shifted things around a little bit. And I'm not going to get into the details, but if you do want to hear more on the details, the Disney Dish covered it this week. But some of the highlights are that they've basically converted land or are now treating more land north of Big Thunder Mountain, so beyond Big Thunder Mountain, as available for potential use. It looks like, measuring the scale of the land available, it's about as much as Main Street and Tomorrowland put together. So it's a sizable amount of land there. And also they've shifted around some of the land by Hollywood Studios. So it does look like they're looking at ways that they can expand the footprint of that park as well.
And if you don't want to listen to the podcast, go to the WW Magic forums, which Len got all of his information from, because there's a poster there that kind of summarized it very nicely. And he has some cool maps where he kind of overlaid where all that is. So you can actually physically see it. So if you really want to see it and you want to nerd out on it, basically they shifted unsuitable to marginally unsuitable just so they can get like the conservation and all the other kind of stuff that kind of goes around with using land.
Yeah,
So,
and then I guess other land they bought more recently, they're now calling that the conservation land or something because they have to offset it everywhere and stuff.
the only thing where this is interesting is that they made land where they were never going to build on to potentially be able to build on, which might give a hint of where they might be, putting shovels in the future type of thing.
And it just kind of
that's
speaks
where that
to,
is.
Obviously when they talked about doing the Beyond Big Thunder, you need land that you can build it on, and this is
Right.
effort that was made to say there is land that we could build this on. So
This is the first steps on making sure you
Yeah.
can start building there and getting permitting
Exactly.
and all that other fun stuff.
Yep. So that's all I had from the earnings. The next topic I was going to cover is probably, I guess, what we're going to treat as our game of the week.
We like lists.
Yeah, it makes it easy for talking about. But I thought this was a really interesting article that the Disney Tourist blog put out, and obviously I'll link to it in the show notes and stuff when we release it. But it was called Big Little Things That Need to Come Back. So it kind of has a little bit of a spark of things tied to Matt's Disney Comeback Index and stuff like that. But it's basically looking at what are small things that we all used to enjoy back in 2018, 2019 or whatever that are no longer at Walt Disney World. And these are relatively small. So, he even said something like Disney's Magical Express is a big thing compared to some of the things on here. But it was kind of like a reminder of all the things that have changed that kind of make the experience a little bit lesser in some ways. And also some of these things where it's like, well, why haven't they brought them back? But I guess we can talk through the list.
Yeah, I thought just before we get into each individual one, I agreed with some of these, and I disagree with some of these equally also. I think I'm like half and half, where like these don't matter and these definitely need to come back. So yeah, let's start the list. This is a good one.
So the first one is resort delivery. So that is if you're in Magic Kingdom and you want to buy something at one of the stores, but you don't want to carry it around with you the whole day. In the past, you used to be able to have it shipped back to your resort, and then you would pick it up at the front desk, and so this way you wouldn't have to carry it through the parks. This has not returned yet. It was funny, we were talking about this on Discord, and some people mentioned that because this isn't available anymore, it prevented them from or it stopped them from buying something they might have considered buying anyway. So in some ways, it's costing Disney money that people are not buying souvenirs when they realize they're going to have to carry it around with them.
First of all, I don't think they can afford these souvenirs because they spend all their money on Genie Plus, but that's a different story. So what I mean, like for me personally, I used to use this all the time. Like when my kids bought toys, like, oh, let's buy this Big Buzz. Can you bring this back to our resort? It really felt like, I don't know if you want to call it a perk or whatever, but it was nice. It felt like the resort and the parks were connected, and you had this nice little concierge service with it. I suspect it didn't come back immediately because they were probably understaffed and you couldn't have enough people to run product to like all the different resorts constantly. Because I think that probably takes a good team of people.
Oh yeah,
to
you need
merch,
the vehicles
right?
and drivers, and you have to back up people and all that sort of stuff, and just cataloging it and
Tracking the stuff and making sure. I mean, it's a mini postal service, right? So imagine all that logistics of doing all that stuff. And I suspect that's why it's not back, because it costs a lot of money to do that one little thing. And I think that they probably see the merch sales haven't suffered tremendously. And why do we need to bring this back? Which is, I think, ignorant. So yes, these are little things that do need to come back.
And just one small comment about that. One thing we always do, and we even did this back when they had resort delivery, is you can have stuff shipped home right from the stores, and their prices are really reasonable. It's like $10, $12 or whatever for like a big box. So especially if we have anything large, we always just do that anyway. And then you don't have to worry about getting it back on the plane or anything. So if this is something you used to do in the past, you might want to just consider that. But still, like you said, the resort delivery kind of, I guess it increased the feel of the bubble and stuff like that you got that kind of extra part. One of them was lunch and breakfast at Be Our Guest.
Well, hold on. I have one other feel
sorry.
on it just popped in my head as you started talking, so now I'm interrupting you. But another thing, it felt like it felt like you weren't alone in the parks, right? So like part of the Disney magic, the Disney bubble, the Disney level of service. It felt like the cast members and the staff there were there to help make your vacation that much better, right? And give you that much level of service or anything else like that. And so because of that, they were here to help. Like, when you're like on a cruise or an all-inclusive, you have that service staff or something that they're there to make sure you have a vacation. And like, when you don't have that level of service and you're lugging this thing around and you're whatever, or you're not considering it, or somebody doesn't offer you that, like that kind of feels like I'm fighting against Disney World to do things, right? Like if I have to lug a big, for us it was Buzz Lightyear, like the 2-foot or 1-foot, toy that my son still plays with. Like, oh, you were able to take care of that for me. It felt like you were getting something, and it felt more concierge-ish. I don't know. I'm rambling now, but like, it's just a feeling, right? It's a vibe, I guess. What is what I'm getting at? That's kind of missing.
Yep. No, I get what you're trying to say. So then I'm going to put two together because they both involve food. One is returning lunch and breakfast at Be Our Guest, and also having brunch back at California Grill. I'll expand that one a little bit, and it gets mentioned in the article, but also just how California Grill and other places are now shifted to that prefix meal, which really kind of takes away and makes it a more expensive investment to go to these places than in the past. So I think that's kind of all combined in here, where you used to be able to get into Be Our Guest with breakfast or lunch for a much more reasonable cost. I got to experience it and see it and stuff like that, and now the only option is the expensive prefix concept there.
I mean, I don't think we need to comment on prefix. We've spent
we've covered that before,
minutes and minutes. But what I will comment is, I'm glad we're just not the only one commenting on this. I mean, everybody says the same thing, and Disney Tourist Blog has a large audience, so I'm glad that's kind of pushing out there. So hopefully, it might affect some change down the road.
Yep. The next, I'm going to group another two together because it involves sort of Streetmosphere. One is the Pandora Rangers over in Pandora in Animal Kingdom, which are the guys in the big mech suits that kind of walked around and stuff. And then the other one is the citizens of both Hollywood and Main Street not having returned.
So you were kind of lumping together right at the top, kind of like just basically entertainment.
Yeah.
And I mean, does this need to come back? Yes, but it does. These specific things don't need to come back, right? So I mean, like, it's like the big little things that need to come back. Does the parks need to feel more lived in? Sure. Does it need to be like, this level of talent? No, but it would be nice. So this is kind of like my 50-50 one.
Yeah.
Like, there's other priorities I have than this level of entertainment type of thing. But one of the couple of things where I said I'm 50-50 on this list was like the lunch and breakfast, but you threw me a curveball now that I'm thinking about it, because you went right to the prefix, where it's like that's the one that gets me like right in the, it stabs me right in the heart, because I'm like, I hate that so much, the prefix stuff. But I don't think like lunch and breakfast at Be Our Guest is necessary. Like, we don't need that back. That's not a little thing. That's just how operation changes. But you threw prefix on it, so
yeah,
it's kind of twisted you caught me off guard with that.
Yeah,
but no,
and I do get what you're saying about like it doesn't have to be these specific things, but there is definitely a feeling of a cut in entertainment and Streetmosphere. I think specifically, which especially at a park like Hollywood Studios, maybe not everyone loved the citizens of Hollywood, but they took up capacity, right? Because people would stop and watch them and stuff like that. It was just something else to do. And it made the parks feel a little more special versus just going from one attraction to another attraction.
No, I'm with you on that one.
The next one is the Epcot Festival seminars. This one, again, it's kind of like, I don't know if it has to be these specific. Yeah, we've talked about it too. I think the big thing with this is food and wine specifically, I feel like used to feel much more special because they had like all these authors coming in talking about their book and celebrity chefs doing demonstrations and stuff. And now it's just been reduced to more or less kind of the food booths and I guess the music that plays and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it just isn't as impressive or as much of a draw as it used to be, at least for me. So
I never really did the festivals pre-COVID, right? My kids were too little for all that stuff, so I never really focused on that. And, it really started with our adult-only trip in 22. Was it 22? Goodness, yes, it was 22 already. Where I'm like, now, all right, I'm in. It's just my wife and I. Let's get some food and drinks. And I was like, when I'm focused on it and really paying attention, I'm like, this is really stinks. Like, what was all like the major like? Oh, we have to go to Food and Wine. This is amazing. It's just like a food truck thing that you would see.
Yeah,
At the local,
it
like,
used to be so
firehouse.
much more to it, and we used to
Yeah.
plan our trips. I mean, more before kids, and when we just had one child who was really young, we would plan around it, and it was all about going to these seminars and special lunch pairings and stuff. Like, there's just so much more to it that felt like things that you could only really do there. And now it's like every festival just has different booths, but it's all kind of booths and stuff. So I don't know. I think the idea
Pre-processed
of
food that's shoved out. It's just
yeah,
I mean, like I would go to a food booth, but if it was like a little class where you spend maybe $30 a person, but you sat down for like 40 minutes and then like they paired a wine with cheeses or
that's exactly what it
a
used to
beer
be.
with
Yeah,
food. And I would spend $40 to do that for like a mini little thing. That'd be fun. Or just
Yeah.
watch it, just hang out type of thing.
exactly. Another one is just some more dining locations and Polly's in the Tomorrowland Terrace. I don't think these are huge things, but again, it's kind of nostalgia, especially Aunt Polly's, I think, for some people. But again, it's kind of like, why aren't these back yet? Yeah.
I just don't think they need another Tomorrowland food thing. And I think
Yeah.
Aunt Polly's, no one's going over there anyway. I think that's why they're closed. So I think that's nitpicking in my
Yeah.
opinion.
The next one, though, I think is kind of a big thing, or especially if we associate it with things larger than it, it is Jedi Training Academy.
This has to come back.
Yeah, which, my kids did it like once. I kind of wish they did it more, but at least they got to do it once. I know there's a lot of people with kids a little younger than me that were like waiting for that point where their kids were old enough for it. If you're not someone who's seen this before, in Hollywood Studios, they used to do where kids, you'd sign them up at the start of the day, and they would come back at a certain time, and they'd basically be like Jedi Knight apprentices, and they would get a little training in the Force and stuff. And then either Darth Vader or Kylo Ren would come out, and each kid would have to like face their fears, and like it just created amazing like photo opportunities and kind of just special moments for these kids. And again, it's something like Disney was the only place you could have that experience, right? And they talked about when they took it away that a similar experience would be added to Galaxy's Edge. I think what happened was then they basically put that behind the paywall of the Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
But now that that's gone, maybe it's time to bring back something a little more experiencing.
Well, the space
similar
is
to
still
that.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, the stage is still there. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this is one of my favorite things I've ever seen at Disney World. This was 2019 when we did it, right? Pre-COVID. And oh my God, I had some of the best pictures from this. They're on the wall. And this needs to come back. I mean, I can't believe that this is something that they easily could put back. I mean, it's a low amount of crowds, but like you would put like maybe like 30, 40 kids through this, like, but 8 times a day or something else like that. So I mean, that's a decent amount of people, but it also adds like streetmosphere, right? Because you're seeing these kids parade, and I know every time I was kind of walking by and my kids weren't in it, I would stop and watch for a little bit and have my kids be like, "Oh, you want to go do this?" And then we would kind of do it. I mean, I can't believe they haven't brought this back, and they could just add so much different stuff to it. But yeah, I think they cut it because of the Star Cruiser and Chapek. So,
Yep.
Curse upon all of them.
Next one is kind of a small thing, but I know is important to some people, is toppings bars. I think specifically at Pecos Bill, this was something that sort of made the food there edible. And without
No,
it,
I'm
it's
glad
kind
they
of
got rid of this. I'm glad they got rid of this. This is good because toppings bars are disgusting, right? It's like all this stuff that you could just pile. I hate when you just see people mobbing the toppings bar, piling up their plate of just like lettuce and onions, like making a salad. Hate's a strong word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Like message board, like, oh, you need to go to Pecos Bills. If you order like a $4.99 nacho, you can mound your plate and all this other stuff. I'm like, that's to me that's cheap. That's like you're taking you're supposed to like just put some lettuce and onions on your hamburger or extra stuff for your nachos, not make a meal out of it. And it's just like, come on. It's just.
I remember one of the tips was you could go there and they had a fee where you could buy just a bun. So people would just buy like an extra bun and just fill it with toppings.
It's just sad.
Which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, and that made it, but to me, the bigger thing is just have food that doesn't require a million toppings to taste good.
Well, I mean, I don't mind a toppings bar if you're just like making like a hamburger or your own thing, but like to me, that's in a park like that, that's nasty because there's just too many people floating around touching things and doing things in like a non-restaurant setting. Like a buffet where there's people that are physically monitoring the food and making sure it's fresh and no one's messing with, but a toppings bar that's away from like the cooks that are on the other side of it, it just gets dirty, it gets crowded, and it just skeeves me out. So that's my personal thing about it. I think it's disgusting, and I don't like the feeding frenzy mentality behind it.
Yeah.
It's just ugh. So good.
I think it's just one of those things where it's quote unquote free, so people went a little like crazy with it at times.
Yeah.
Probably. The last two I think are a little bit related. It's the Cinderella Castle Dreamlights that they used to do around the holidays, and then also the Kiss Goodnight, which they used to do at the very, very end of the day, like right before the park, or maybe even after the park closing, a little special show on the castle with lights and stuff like that is kind of the final send off for the people that stayed to the very end.
I think like this Cinderella Castle Dreamlights, I need to do other things for this during the holidays. It's now projection versus like physical lights and stuff like that. Yeah, it used to look pretty, and a physical effect is more impactful than projections. But I get why you got rid of this, and it's probably for the best from an operational point of view.
Yeah,
I don't think it detracts from what I've seen during the holidays before. The castle looks pretty darn good at times. So I don't miss that. The Kiss Goodnight, I mean, they could always bring something back. I think they do stuff. Like they do that at Epcot quite a bit also.
Yeah, that's true.
With the ball.
With the ball, yeah.
I think these are just too nostalgia fueled, like nitpicks. I think they do other fine things.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think these are huge nostalgia things, especially the Dreamlights. People that have all these positive memories of seeing them and that kind of signifying the holidays to them and stuff like that. I think it's also kind of a signal, or people view it as, well, it's more expensive for them to put it up and take it down, so it's Disney being quote unquote cheap. But there's also, you had the negative of that, right? You had to have the crane back there to put them up and stuff like that, which people complained about. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of one of those, you'd make some people happy and upset other people. But
what if your only day at Magic Kingdom is like this happened to people? Like their only day at Magic Kingdom to get their pictures, there's a crane in the background.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know what? This is easier.
Yep. So anyway, that was the list. I thought it was just interesting to think about all these small things that are still missing that did kind of add a lot to people's vacations in the past to Walt Disney World, and kind of feels like there's a hole and things are missing. So yeah.
I think the biggest one is just basically the entertainment. I think that's what people are missing. And the festival stuff. I think everything else, like the food, whatever, those are just like grumpy, like operation type of things. They don't detract. Like if a good restaurant is now a prefix and I don't get to go, there's other places that I can go that can make me just as happy. So, but yeah, there's some things that need to come back for sure. And honestly, I think, we'll see a lot of these come back in 2025 because they're inexpensive investments that they can make that change the park, and they can say that we're adding. So I think 2025 is going to be the year of entertainment and CapEx, like physical things going into the parks.
We'll see.
So
that for that. And the last topic I was going to bring up is just a bit of a quick preview. I will miss the show next week. I will be on vacation, and it just kind of we tried to figure out a way to make it work, and it just wouldn't work out. I'm not going to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, though. We will be on a cruise with Royal Caribbean's on their new ship, Icon of the Seas. That just launched. So we are very excited. It's a 7-day sailing out of Miami, which will have some planes, trains, and automobiles to try to get there. But once we're there, we're very excited about everything related to this new ship.
Are you flying into Orlando and taking the Brightline all the way down to Miami?
No. So we are flying into West Palm Beach. And we were going to take the train, either the Brightline or the Tri-Rail. I think instead we're just going to do a 1-day car rental. It'll just be easier, and for the five of us, it'll work out. But yeah, we were like, my wife had it. It was like, okay, we'll take it to there. We'll take the Uber to the Tri-Rail, take the train down there to the airport, and then we'll take another. I'm like, this is getting complicated for five of us.
You're going to miss the boat
with like luggage. We're flying in a day early and stuff like that. But yeah, so when we're back, I'll do more of a full trip report and go over it and kind of see, compare and contrast again to Disney Cruise Line. What's this is the latest and the greatest. It's and this is something where we got in like basically the day they started selling cruises for the ship. So we paid not an inexpensive amount, but now seeing the current prices because demand was so high, basically I requoted my room and the price doubled since what we had. Yeah. And so basically the new price is at or even more than Disney Cruise Line. So it's going to be interesting. Like they're going after the families, and they have family areas on this and stuff, and the rooms for families. So is this the Disney killer, or are they suffering from kind of some of the same things Disney have, where they saw the demand and like went too far the other way with pricing and upcharges and stuff like that? So we shall see.
Have you ever done it like a long sailing like this before?
Yeah, so
like a 5-day, right?
Last year February was a 7-day as well. It was pretty much the same itinerary. Last year we did Eastern Caribbean. This year we're doing Western Caribbean, but it's similar sailing, so we'll see. But yeah, we're very excited about it. I was telling Jason before the show started, we already got the call that our school is closed for tomorrow due to snow. So we are really looking forward to getting down to the Caribbean and some sunlight and some tropical drinks. One thing I did was I'm in a Facebook group for the cruise, and I'm organizing a bar crawl because there's, I think, 20 new bars on the ship. So I have a little lanyard that I'm going to be handing out where we can get check off all the bars that we go to and stuff like that. So should be a fun time.
You need to then have your phone and like post pictures of each drink you get into Discord and keep us, if you have internet access on the cruise. Anyway.
Yeah, I do. I did get Wi-Fi just to have that, just to stay connected and in case some emergencies at work come up or whatever. But I'll try to not be on constantly, but I will post, when I can.
I just want posts. I want pictures of the drinks. That's all I want. You can
just
you
the drinks.
Have to give. That's it. That's all I want to know. I want to know what you're drinking on this bar crawl. That seems pretty awesome. I like that idea.
So, yep. So it's exciting. Sorry that the way the scheduling worked out, we couldn't get another show in next week, but we'll see if Jason, I don't know if you're going to do a solo show or maybe have somebody else on, or we'll figure
Depends
it out.
on my work schedule, to be honest with you. But if there's like good news this week, I'll definitely pop on for maybe like a 10 or 20 minute episode. I just don't know if people want to hear that. So maybe we'll figure that out. I don't know. All right. So the next part, Phil, is the DVC engagement. A lot of people like this one. Like they went like ham on Discord with like all of their like itineraries and stuff like that. So maybe we should do this more in the future. They seem to really like this one. And I've got a like either or for next week. So we'll go over that when we're done. So we've got, the show was pretty quick, but we did so because there's a lot of engagement in this. We want to give everybody a shot. So do you want to go over community responses or go over ours first? How do you want to do it?
Why don't we do? I think we did ours first last time, so let's do the community this time.
Okay, so we'll start with Lumpy because he always has some.
And just a reminder, what the question is.
Oh yes, sorry. Go ahead.
So you have to plan a vacation where you are at Walt Disney World for 6 nights, 7 days. So you have to figure out 6 nights of hotel stay. You need to stay at a value, moderate, and a deluxe resort, each for 2 nights. So this is all about resort hopping. So which ones are you going to choose, and how are you going to kind of split this up?
All right. So, and they didn't have to be consecutive either. So they didn't have to do 2 value, then 2 moderate, 2 whatever. You can hop back and forth, go nuts, do whatever you wanted to do. All right. So Lumpy went first. It says his wife hates the thought of split stays. She likes to get settled in and enjoy her stay. That's the same thing as my wife. I would say, why don't we do like a really cheap hotel at like All-Star Music, but then do 2 days or 3 days at like a really expensive deluxe? She's like, no, I don't like want to have to unpack and then repack. I'm like, all right, whatever. In any case, they only have picked up and moved resorts once. So what he wanted to do was night 1 is Port Orleans. We fly in from the West Coast because he's a California Disneyland guy. So they're going to use that as their crash pad. So they're just going to go in Port Orleans, Nights 2 and 3, they're going to Art of Animation Family Suite. I guess he wants the space. And then that's 2 nights at his value. And then nights 4 and 5 are Bay Lake Tower. He was thinking about Wilderness Lodge, but he can't beat the Walk to Magic Kingdom. So he's going to do that. And then I'm reading out his other things. So no, but he's going to do Bay Lake Tower for the advantage of Walking to Magic Kingdom. And then he's going to cheat and go back to Port Orleans just for his like crash night. But what I think he's missing is he's going to have to go to 2 days at Magic Kingdom, I'm assuming, because he's using Bay Lake Tower as his Magic Kingdom access. But then that's his last night, and then he can't sleep there, so he has to go pack up and then go to Port Orleans before his last night. So I don't know if he's thinking through that one quite well. So I wouldn't want to do my last day also at a moderate. So if I have deluxe, I'm ending my stay at the best place ever. So
Yep.
we'll see. Or you want to do TL Madden's, Bill?
Sure. So Tiamat, he had two posts. First, just kind of talking about it, how they used to do some split stays where part of it would be off-site and then part of it would be on-site. But they haven't really done this in a while. And so he said if he did it, he'd probably do it with just his wife or a parents only one, dragging the kids between, 5 different resorts or whatever would be too much. But he said he thinks he would go progressively as well, starting at a value and then moving up to deluxe. So kind of like what you were talking about, Jason.
Yep.
He said he would start at Art of Animation, probably a Little Mermaid room, and use that to have the Skyliner to hit parks on the following days. So next day would be Hollywood Studios and then Epcot. But he would probably only do a half day there because he knows he has to move to the next resort for that night. They would go to Riverside, use that as a quiet kind of resort and just do resort day, maybe go down to Disney Springs, that sort of thing. Then do Magic Kingdom on day 5 and then potentially hop over to Epcot to see Luminous. But then he would have to transfer. And I didn't see in here where he put which his last. Then he would go stay at the Contemporary. So that's why I think he was saying, I'm assuming that's what he meant because he said they would take the boat over to the Contemporary. So I'm assuming that's where he's going to stay for the last 2 nights, doing Magic Kingdom and Epcot, and for his last 2 nights staying at the Contemporary.
I am not a fan of the idea of monorail resorts. I think the monorail is completely overrated as a form of transportation getting to and from the parks, because you have to line up, you have to wait for it. If you are at the Contemporary, you have to go all the way around the loop, and I think buses sometimes are faster at that point. It's really cool. I love the monorail, but if we're just using it as a form of transportation and not taking any of the other stuff out of it, if you're not walking, Skyliner is better, and if you're not using the Skyliner, the boats are better. And then I put bus, and then I'd put monorail last. It's just as a form of reliable transportation, with the exception of if you're at the Grand Floridian and you're not going during the holiday time where everybody's lining up to get into the monorail and off the monorail. That's probably the best because it's one stop once you get over to the Magic Kingdom. The next one is Doxy. She since there's no limits on where to spend the nights, and here's what she's going to do: Art of Animation, Little Mermaid room. I guess that's popular. French Quarter. And then she's going to do, so she's doing concierge at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So she really took advantage of this scenario. So good for her. I didn't even think about that. So they're going to do Animal Kingdom Lodge. I like that because Animal Kingdom Lodge is one of the best looking, I think, deluxe resorts. But again, you have to deal with buses all over the place.
Yeah.
And then, I think that's it. So she's staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge for the last 2 nights. And then Art of Animation, French Quarter, Animal Kingdom Lodge is her progression, which I respect. Herder Maniac cheated. He's just going just to stay because he's more of a resort stay type of person for the most part, just coming back to the parks. And he's not cheating, and he's not using DVC rooms, which I appreciate. So he's going to do basically the same thing. He's going to do Art of Animation. Everybody's picking Art of Animation for their value, which doesn't kind of surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's just the nicest. If you got to pick one, it's the nicest one, right?
Exactly. And then he's staying at the cabins, which is something that I didn't consider when I did mine. But I'd like that, which, when you're kind of just staying and not going in the parks, you just want like a cool, like resort experience. Camping, that's kind of cool when you go to Art of Animation to the cabins, and then he's also going to Animal Kingdom Lodge at the end. So he's kind of doing like a little camping savannah stay, seeing the creatures, spending time with nature. Yeah. Too bad there's no value nature thing, because I think that would be like a nice, cool like stay, right? But value is just going to be like.
I guess you could have stayed at the campsite in a tent, but.
That's not considered value. That's still moderate pricing. Like
Are the tent? I don't know. I thought the tent ones were considered value, but
does anybody still do that? Actually, stay in a tent that's not attached to like an RV or something?
Yeah, they still rent them. People do it.
Okay, I just haven't seen pictures of that. It's kind of cool. Why don't you finish up with Wheezy, because he actually gave us a spreadsheet.
Yeah, so Weezy, I left him for the end because he did a full spreadsheet, which you obviously know is
Mad props.
yeah. So he said he picked hotels based on. He actually went in and like picked a week and said, okay, here's the hotels that are available, and got pricing and all that sort of stuff too. So he picked hotels based on current availability and pricing for 2 months out from now. Which
I love this.
And then he was going for the golden window, which is looking at different multiple after hours events. So we talked about this a few weeks ago, kind of planning your trip around after hours events at the parks versus day tickets. So he added in like which transportation he would use and all sorts of stuff like that. So I think I just need to zoom in to see this thing. Maybe too much.
Well, his first 2 nights was the Pop Century.
Yeah, so he was at Pop Century, and he was going to be going to the first night the Hollywood Studios after hours event, and then the Epcot after hours event. Then he was going to be going to the Port Orleans Riverview, and then he was going to, I think that was just a resort day, and then then he was going over to Animal Kingdom for a 1-day ticket. He would just use a 1-day ticket there. Then he would stay at the Poly Resort View for a day resort day. And then he would do the Magic Kingdom after hours event for his second Polynesian day. So he's got 2 days of Pop Century, 2 at Port Orleans, the Riverview, and 2 at Polynesian. And he's doing all 3 parks that have an after hours event, and then just a day ticket to see Animal Kingdom. And he looked up all the pricing on this. It would be, I think it's $2,884 for the resorts for those 6 nights. And then it was, I think, $608 per person for the tickets.
That's not too bad. What I really
$668. Sorry, so it's $2,884. Sorry, I had to zoom in a little bit more to see the numbers. So just shy of $3,000 for the rooms for the 6 nights, and you're getting at the Polynesian for the last 2 nights. Those are over $700 each and stuff like that. So this is obviously, I guess, just what's readily available, and then $668 per person to do the 3 after hours events and a day ticket at Animal Kingdom.
What you're missing in this whole organization is the first 2 days are Skyliner days, the middle 2 days are bus days, and the last 2 days are monorail days. So he gets like a little bit of each kind of transportation mode other than boats on this one, which I think is pretty cool. Unless he takes a boat over from the Poly to the Magic Kingdom on his last day.
That's true.
Which I like. I like the organization of transportation. So I'm going to do mine. Mine's relatively easy, right? So I didn't plan out like what days of the parks or anything that I'm going to do. But me, I'm a Skyliner guy. So I'm starting with Art of Animation only because I only think of animation because there's a family suite there, which would fit my family. But I wouldn't be against staying at Pop Century either. So we do Art of Animation. And then once we're done with Art of Animation and making sure my wife feels comfortable, we're just going up the Skyliner to Caribbean Beach Resort. So I'm thinking when you transition from, maybe the checkout day for Art of Animation to a check-in day for Caribbean Beach, you can go to a park on the Skyliner and you just get off at a different stop and you go right to your room. So I'm kind of digging that. And then I was thinking like, okay, would it be interesting to go just right up the Skyliner to stay at the Riviera and just like you're just skylining the whole time? But I chose not to do that only because I think staying at Caribbean Beach and just kind of moving like up the block to Riviera might be boring because you're kind of just staying on the same premises. You're not getting enough like different kind of stay. So I would probably stay at Beach Club just so I can get in that pool and be like walking distance to Epcot. So that's kind of like my thing. I'm not even thinking about the parks. I'm just thinking about being on the Skyliner, being able to chill at Hollywood Studios or the Epcot. Maybe we go to Magic Kingdom one day. I don't know. I'm not really focused on park heavy type of thing. I'm thinking like, how do we kind of just chill on a Skyliner and make use of our location and not worry about busing and scheduling and just like, this is more of like, I'm just going to do what comes to me type of thing. So that's how I was thinking of it. It was all based on the Skyliner.
Gotcha.
So what were you going to do?
So the way I looked at it was I would want to maximize the benefit of being at the various resorts. So I was looking at, okay, I need to spend 2 nights in deluxe resorts. Let's pick the nights when you get access to the extended evening hours in the parks. And I also kind of set it up for having one day at each of the 4 parks. So hopefully when I go, availability will be that special ticket they've had sometimes where you get the 4 parks for 1 ticket. That's a little cheaper. So right now, currently, the deluxe extended evening hours are at Epcot on Wednesdays and Magic Kingdom on Mondays. So what I said was Monday, I would check into the Polynesian for 1 night. Really was just trying to pick something close to Magic Kingdom, and I've never stayed at the Polynesian, always want to. So for this exercise, that's the one I picked. I said after checking in, we would spend a little bit of time at resort to get to enjoy being at the Polynesian, then go over to the Magic Kingdom and have the extended evening hours there to kind of take advantage of that and get a lot done.
I'm going to push back on your whole premise here because I think
Okay.
this is a fantasy land for you, because I know that your family would push back on going to extended evening hours, because most of them are going to be tired, just like my wife and my son were in my trip. And I remember when we were down there, was it that your wife went back, or was she doing the Living with the Land for when we were watching Harmonious together last year?
They went to do the Living with the Land.
Oh, okay. So they were sticking out. That maybe I'm just
So,
I'm
actually, I
pushing
think for my family,
to-
the evening hours are better than the early hours because I have trouble getting them up. So for the most time, it's going to be where we'll actually sleep in a little bit and then stay later at the parks.
Gotcha. Okay.
So at least that was my thought process.
I'm projecting my family onto your time. I apologize.
Yeah. And I did also say that I should have kicked off with this as I don't think I would ever actually do this, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it for science. But we did do actually
madness, though.
My wife and I did do for our parents only trip where we kind of did what you laid out, where we stayed at Pop for the bulk of the trip and then ended with 2 nights at Animal Kingdom to kind of rest and relax. So Tuesday we check out of the Polynesian, have our bags transferred over to our next resort, which will be for Caribbean Beach Resort, which we will stay at for 1 night. We will use the Skyliner to get over to Hollywood Studios. The next morning, we will then check out of Caribbean Beach, have our bags checked over to our third resort, which is going to be the Beach Club. Out of Caribbean Beach, we'll go over to Epcot for a little bit and then go over to the Beach Club once we can get into our room, enjoy the pool over there for a little while, and then back to Epcot for the extended evening hours there. Thursday, Friday, we would move over to Art of Animation. Again, just picking the nicest value resort we can, and probably go Animal Kingdom for 2 days and just to enjoy some time there, but also allow for some resort time to enjoy the pool there and the dining and stuff like that. Then the last day, we have to do another day at a moderate. I picked going to Coronado, specifically staying at the Grand Destino. We would not do any parks. It would be a focus on food for the last day, going to Three Bridges, the Dahlia Lounge in Toledo and stuff like that, and kind of just relax and have it easy for our last night before we check out on Sunday.
So here's the thing. I've never done a split stay, so I've never really relied on baggage transfer. In your setup, I like it, but like if you could pack light, where the packing and unpacking, you can basically live out of your bag, right? Type of thing.
Well, that's what we definitely would do for this, for sure.
Yeah. To me, this is madness, being able to, like, basically outside of staying at Art of Animation for 2 days in a row, you were in a different hotel every single day.
That's why I said this was for science, not reality.
It is for science. I mean, like, I would love to try it to see if it's like a pain in the butt, but I can't imagine I could personally live out of my bag. I do that for business all the time, but I don't know. I think I can probably get my wife to do it, like maybe 1 night, but I don't know if I can get it done because she likes to organize, put things in the drawers. Could I get my kids to do it? Yeah, I could get my kids to wear the same clothes for 5 days in a row. As disgusting as that sounds, they won't care because they're kids and they just run around. Oh, you need a bath? I'll jump in the pool real quick. We'll go into the park.
Yeah,
like that type of thing. But man, I would love to try to. I would love to do this again for science. It's just really expensive.
I mean, I think in reality, if I ever would try to do something like this, I would just do like the deluxe for the first 3 nights. So you kind of get the two, that covers the 2 deluxe hours, and then switch to a moderate or a value after that, or do the reverse. I don't think I would do a deluxe to a moderate to a deluxe just because we had to by the rules of this game, but.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think this is good. This is a good experiment for a lot of people, kind of thinking about how they would work a property. Me, I'm staying just on Epcot and the Skyliner. Like, I don't even need to go to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. I just want to be like, I want to chill, but have be able to hop into a park and hop out of it, right? Because that's the next time we ever do an adult only trip. Like, I just want to hop into a park for a little bit, hop away, hop in, hop, like dip your toe in just for like an hour or 2 and come on out. I like that thought process. So, okay. So our DVC engagement for this week, please hop on Discord right now and get in your thoughts. So going on the theory again about Epic Universe opening up in 2025. So in your mind, this is the year 2025. Epic Universe is open, and it's been open for a while, right? So maybe it's a couple months. You know what you're getting into, right? You're not going for like the first month and it's brand new. You can plan, you know what to expect. So I have two scenarios. A, you book a Walt Disney World trip like you normally would, and with whatever typical deals that they have, 20, 25% off rack rate, but you have to pick your hotel, you pick out your tickets, you get your 25% off, whatever, but you sacrifice a park day for Epic Universe. So essentially, let's say you have a 6-night, 7-day stay in Orlando. You book a Disney World trip at the hotel, but you only go to 3 Disney World parks and then an Epic Universe park. Let's just kind of say something like that. Or would you rather book a full package to Disney World that is just one price, right? So think cruise line. Cruise line, you pay one price and this is what you get for that one price. And they just list things in a list. This is what you have access to, right? So it's a $6,253 price tag. I don't know don't use that number, but that's the number you would look at for this, right? So it's a full package that includes a moderate hotel or a deluxe hotel or a value hotel. You do not get to pick what that hotel is, right? So you have to pick whatever you get because they're filling up hotel rooms, right? So maybe they'll say they guarantees between Coronado and Riverside on the reading. I don't know. So you don't get to choose, right? So you got a moderate booking, just like you can pick, a state room or a small room or whatever on a cruise, that type of thing. You get 6 nights, but they're limited nights. So they're of Disney's choosing. Like, so say, like for sailings, for example, like they have one in mid-March or one at the end of April. So like you don't get to pick when you go. You have to choose from the range of dates that Disney is offering, right? So it's a little bit limiting on that. You get 5 hopper tickets, the dining plan. Basically, we're matching a cruise itinerary, if you can kind of catch my drift where I'm going with this. However, the price is significantly reduced. So assuming it's a normal Disney World vacation, you don't get to pick what hotel. You don't get to pick the week that you're going. You have to pick from Disney's weeks. You're paying for hopper tickets. You're paying for the dining plan. But ultimately, what you might be saving is somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500, depending on the size of your family and how many people you're bringing, that type of thing, overall. And the impetus for this is, I think Disney, I think we talked about this last week or the week before, but I think it was last week, where the cost of tickets to entice people to come in 2025 when there's probably less offerings, or maybe even this summer. I think you get a whole bunch of stuff and it's this price, and then they get to disguise where they're taking money off of. So they're not publicly discounting tickets. It's, here's this experience for one bulk price, right? And Disney gets to choose when you go to kind of fill up hotels and all that type of stuff. So do you go for A, book a normal Walt Disney World trip at regular pricing and whatever else it might be, and you just buy a day at Epic Universe? Or do you get the whole ticket package and you just book a Walt Disney World trip, but they're enticing you to stay only at Disney World at a time of their choosing at one somewhat lower price? I'm not gonna say at a low price, because I don't think Disney's ever gonna have a low price.
Yeah.
But does that make sense? Did I explain that right, Phil?
It does. I mean, I think just with the date thing, obviously people can only travel certain dates. So maybe it's like, well, here's the package for
That's
this
the challenge,
date, or here's the package for that date. And you can kind of, some dates are more of a savings than others, but
nope. You have the problem, the thing I'm putting in here, you're saving money, but you have less flexibility of when you go, and you have less flexibility of choosing where you stay, but you're saving cash because of that, right? You're allowing Disney to fill up their rooms strategically in their point of view, versus you getting to pick your hotel, your dates, what kind of ticket package, whether, like, instead of having to build your itinerary, they're giving you one for this.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Take it or leave it, right?
I just think most people can't just go on a date they have no input on.
Well, I mean, like, there's options, right? This is not just, it only happens the week of April. Like, there's an April date. There's
okay. Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a date that this package is available. Take it or leave it, right?
Well, like when you go book a cruise, they have various sailings. You can't just pick, I want to go sail on Monday or Tuesday. It's like, this is when it sails, and then this is when this sails. This is when it's in this port. Like, you're limited by that.
Right.
So,
but you're picking the week it's going. It's just obviously
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, what I'm getting at is Disney World, booking a Disney World trip like you're booking a cruise. It's one price, and you're limited to.
So it's more standardized and packaged and that sort of thing. Yeah,
less flexibility on all this stuff. So I think we murdered that one. So I'm going to try to write it up. Hopefully, people are listening to this first before writing what horrible thing I'm going to be writing on Discord, where it's going to be confusing. So please make sure you listen to this first. But if they're reading that first, they're not going to know to listen to this first. So I don't know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Anyway, thank you for watching and listening, everybody. That's the show for this week. We'll see you next time, and make sure you jump on Discord for the conversation. Take care, everybody.
Bye. All.